there's elk.
Anyway, go ahead.
There's elk everywhere. Well, you just did your scouting. You just found where the elk were. So, you know, a lot of people go to a lot of places in Colorado for that reason, but preference points are building points. Other states have bonus points. Those are basically having one more lottery pick, but there's no guarantee you'll ever draw. Colorado, if you put the time in and accumulate your preference points, you will draw. You will draw in your lifetime a really coveted elk tag or whatever.
So then the next year, so you have 14 points, the next year you get 15 things.
If you didn't draw. But some of the units that we already know in Colorado, like a unit up the north, it takes 20 years to even be considered.
26.
Well,
Right
yeah,
here.
right. So if you're gonna hold out your whole life for that unit, bless you, girl. I'm gonna go hunt other units, but there's people that have 26 points that have been accumulating, and they're always drawing the second choice or the third choice.
You have a raised hand here in the crowd. Emily Prouty, do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I just had one question. I know that there's, thank you so much for your time. I understand that with certain coveted species, like with rams, for example, with sheep, bighorn sheep, people put in for preference points and takes a phenomenal amount of time. Is that because
I'll talk about that.
Lisa's going to give you a personal testimony because this year she drew sheep and she drew.
You just gave
whoa. Yeah. But is that the same kind of system as the departments?
For somebody here personally, well, I haven't quite figured it out.
Do you know why this would be working?
It looks like something else is going on here.
So are those points the same points per species or are they per? Okay.
No, and I'll tell you the difference. Okay, so the way it works for elk, deer, antelope, bear, turkey, it's all preference points. You can stack up points, and let's say a unit requires 14 points to draw. You will draw it if you get 14 points. And none of that applies to sheep, moose, or goat. None of what I just said applies to that. You have to, in order to draw a sheep, goat, or moose, you have to put in for 3 years. Those are called loyalty points. Those are like 3 years to even apply to draw. So you have 3 years, and then they're called weighted points. So you got your 3 years. Okay, now I can put in. Then every year after that, number 4, you can start. You can have a chance to draw. 3 years, 0. 3 years, 4. And on the 4th year, you can draw. I had 3 years and 22 points. So that's 25 years, but I really had been putting in for 32. They didn't do the weighted points. So what the weighted points is, if you want to look at in layman's terms, is basically having one more lottery ticket in a bucket. You could have 3 years and 22 points, or 3 years and let's say for 10 years now, 32 points. You could draw, you could put in your whole lifetime and never draw a sheep tag. You could put in your whole lifetime, I got that up, and never draw a goat tag. So that, now this is the caveat to this, as she said I was sleeping around. I drew a goat tag in 05. So, and it's not once in a lifetime tag. If you draw a bull or moose, it's a once in a lifetime, but sheep and goat are not. I drew a goat in 05 and I drew a goat this year. And yes, I did draw
I'm
sheep
still
also.
Applying for goat, and I still haven't. I did draw moose in 2019, and I had 3 that I started with and 15 weighted. So I had 21 total. So I had 21 years I'd been applying before I drew it. And it took me 21 days to shoot. So
they gave out 270 sheep tags in Colorado this year, and 40,000 people applied.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's what there's somebody. I just want his name.
So let's pretend, well, I have some property down in Southern Colorado, and what I should do if I want to hunt down there is every time make that my first choice.
Yes. And
pick something else on the second, anywhere else, right?
Right. Well, like Donnell said, a lot of people that put, if you're trying to do a preference point unit, there's about 25% of Colorado's preference points. 75% of all of these units right here in Colorado on the western slope, on the elk hunting and deer hunting, 75 of those are over the counter.
Not anymore.
Maybe it's 60.
It's changed. One of the things the Parks and Wildlife is doing, I've seen it this last 2 years, archery down here has all gone to limited draw. A lot of these down here, they're slowly making that limit. It is changing.
It is. But my point is,
there's always a lot of
let's say the unit you're trying to draw, you know it takes 4 points. You need to start accumulating those 4 and find a second.
Okay.
A second draw. Draw your second choice. Some people, like Donnell says, have been putting in every year. I talked to about, I can't tell you how many guys I've talked to, and they've never had a real good quality hunt. And they have been drawing their first choice every year because it doesn't take any preference points, and they've never accumulated 1 preference point in their whole lifetime.
Whoa.
They just missed a huge opportunity.
So like if you look at page 39, it shows you all the over-the-counter units.
39.
So it's probably about 50%. It's still a fair amount, right?
Okay.
That's for our church.
Something real quick, there's a practice specific to it.
Donnell, you are muted.
What is going on? Because I can't use this now.
I think you're probably using that and messing with me up there probably.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure
But this is not even going to the different screens here, Donnell.
What isn't? No, the presentations here, I shared this screen.
I can't move the presentation is my point.
Meredith raised her hand.
Are we taking questions now or at the end?
I don't know, take Meredith's question real quick.
Okay.
This from just get a property tag. To answer that question, you have to have 160 non-contiguous acres together to get a per property owner to get a landowner tag. I don't know why that's not working, Lisa, but try yours one more time.
There.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's working. I think you somehow got up here and you were.
Okay, so I just wanted you to do like the state of New Mexico. You put in for New Mexico residents and non-residents. I put in for every state in the union. That's how I know. And every year you put in for a tag, you don't draw it, you don't get any bonus points, you get no preference points. It's just sorry, thanks for your money, and try again next year. Colorado is one of the only states that gives you the preference points that if you put the time in for elk, deer, and pronghorn, and you live a long life, you will draw those tags. Does that make sense?
If you got the guy's number.
No, you can't. The question I'll get if you guys can hear me is you'll say, I don't want to hunt anymore, but I have 15 points. Can I give those to Beth? No. You cannot transfer to your family, your dying anybody, nothing.
We actually have a cool story about my father had 16 points, 85 years old, applied for the draw, got it, and then he changed his credit card, or his wallet got stolen or lost, and he got new cards. Okay, well, it was during COVID, so they were using robocalls to call people to say, please put it. Well, we've taught my elderly father to not. It literally said input your new credit card. Well, he just thought it was spam. Doesn't pay attention to it. Well, then we're getting close to his hunt, and I'm like, he's like, I don't know where my tag is. So I said, why don't you call Parks and Wildlife and give you a duplicate tag? Calls them up and they said, well, actually your credit card bounced and you lost your points. And you lost the tag. You lost 16 points. You lost your tag, and that's new on page 8 or something. I was livid, and you can't go back. So the product I do at HuntNDivas, I've been an outdoor colored outdoors product operating for 30 years. So like I knew a lot of people at Parks and Wildlife, but I'm calling. She's calling everybody she knows. I'm calling it, and they're like, "But there's nothing we can do." And I was livid because my dad's 85, and I knew I would never get that much again. It's a long story.
And if you do not, you basically, in a way, which I will argue this until I die. It's a free country. You put in for a tag, your credit card gets compromised, you didn't do the robocall, they're doing better because the emails are bigger and stuff like that. But they kind of punish you. Instead of just moving on to the next person, they basically take your money and they take all of your preference points.
Money because they didn't have
not money. They take 17 years or 20 years of your preference points just gone.
So if you do the math on how much money he spent in 16 years, it was a couple $1,000. I was livid, and it was really more of the, my father never will live long enough for us to ever do this again. Right. So it was one of those kind of Jesus moments. But the good news is Parks and Wildlife came to the rescue. There was one floating tag. My dad ended up getting it, and we ended up We shot a 6x6. We pushed him up. We have
85 years old.
85. We have pictures of us pushing him up the mountain. But he got it. He got it.
That's awesome.
So that's a happy ending.
So,
What's happened that way?
yeah.
So, I mean, it took a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
Sunel's dad got very lucky.
He did.
The person I was talking to just happened to have somebody.
And they hadn't answered by noon.
So
yeah,
They gave it
it
to
really was. It was outside their control. We just got very blessed. Yeah. It really was.
And
It was. It really was.
So
I was so crushed. I was so crushed. Yeah.
So this is important. You think this is it, but you can't get over every year. There's many, and you guys can test this. People shoot moose and said, I thought it was an elk, and they shoot deer and they think it's a bear. Who knows? We get them all the time, lots of them, not a few. There's quite a few of them. So this is where hunter's education is good in getting in the field. Know the difference between an elk and a moose, a deer, a whitetail, an antelope, a bear, but just knowing the difference.
The mistake I see the most is people will shoot like a cow calf thinking they've shot a doe. That's the one I've seen the most.
Yeah.
But
So we just wanted to get quick on that again. These are for yours. What I remember, these are GMUs, they're game management units. We're in 391. Somewhere over here, right here. But every unit that you go to in Colorado, anywhere you go is a number. That's how you pick where you want to hunt. Then it goes to deer. This is where we're gonna show you how, because okay, this is,
let's talk about A's and B's.
yeah, we're gonna go ahead. You can talk about it.
So in Colorado, you can have an A tag, you can have a B tag, you can have a C tag, you can have an A plus a B, you can have a B plus a C, 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 but you can't have an AA. You can only have one A, period. So an A is typically a bull tag, but now in some of the units where they're trying to slow down the harvest, now like down in the Cree area, a cow tag is an A tag. So because you drew a cow tag in the Cree area, you cannot go hunt a bull somewhere. One of the reasons, like I've shot 24 elk in the last 20 some years, part of that is I have an A tag and I have a B tag. I've never had a C tag, but some years I'll get 2, some years I get 0. Like it just depends on how things fall, but you can only have one A. You can have 2 Bs, you could have a cow tag over here, a cow tag over there. But like I said, they have changed that a little bit in population, just trying to slow down the amount of harvest. And this year we even saw, I saw some changes in areas we thought we would draw tags.
But plus they can't sell you that tag anyway. Even if you don't remember, you can go into our office upstairs and go, hey, I want an over the counter buck tag. And they're like, no, you drew a buck tag, you have an A tag, you can't have 2 A tags. You can get a doe tag and there's a B tag right here, but you can't have, the system won't let it print out 2 A tags.
Right.
So even if you forget, but this is confusing. So then you got
right here, really.
Then you ask yourself, okay, I got A, you can't have 2 A and an A and a B and a B and a B, but where are these numbers? Where are these letters? I know the alphabet. So turn to page, we'll do deer since this is up.
So when it says get one license.
1A.
One license, what do you mean?
I'm going to show you. This is where it's going to come together.
Is that where you go like, I
Yeah.
get a pronghorn?
We're going to talk rifle hunting right now. Turn to page 31. Okay. Find the number. We're in 391 right now as we stand. This unit, the Colorado Parks is in 391. Look for the number 391 in the middle column. Look at the first season, October 28th through November 1st or 5th, buck. That's deer, male. The M is for male, 391, second season rifle. See where the letter A is next to it? That's when you know you're applying for an A tag. Now go down to October 28th.
I don't see the A.
It's on the far right, the list.
Right here. D and 391, here's the A.
Go down and now find the B, B and C.
Gotcha.
So a doe tag, if you want a doe tag for September 1st through November 30th, that's a C tag. You can go look and you can apply for 3 C tags if you want, but you can only do that with C tags. That's where you get where you can only have 1 A, 1 AB. You can have 2 Bs, you can have 2 doe tags, 2 B tags, 3 C tags. There's not a lot of C tags, but that's where we're getting the letters A, B, and C. A lot of people never figured that out. You guys figured it out faster than anybody else.
A lot of sea tags are out on the Eastern Plains, so we'll see those.
Go ahead.
So you can get an A tag with SAP 1. That's only one then.
Right.
But then if you get a B and a C,
No, yeah,
you can have A, B, C.
Yeah.
You can have
Okay.
B.
you can have A plus B plus C plus C.
Different animals.
Yeah,
No.
so look at this, Julie, it says you can have an A plus a B plus a C plus a C. So I can have an A tag and 391 of a buck. I can have a doe tag, which is a B tag in a different season. What page is that? That's on the first part of the deer. Go to page 20.
I remember when I first figured this out, I was like,
Page 20.
twice.
20.
No way. I said, I remember when I first figured this out. I'm like,
So-
I can't help.
So this way, in theory,
I always get.
this is we lose everybody, not us. All of Colorado Parks and Wildlife loses people here. Follow me on this page. Go to page 20.
Okay.
Page 20. Okay. Up top it says an A tag. And then get up to 2 A, B, or B. That says get up to 2 tags. Now get any number of tags on A plus B plus C plus C. So in theory, you can have a buck tag, which is an A tag, a doe tag somewhere that's a B tag, and then you could be out in the Eastern Plains shooting 2 more whitetail C plus C that are C tags. You can have 4 deer tags.
But they all have to be in different units.
Very much so.
Okay.
And that's where you go to that other page to see what are they A, B, or C tags.
Okay.
And usually the Eastern Plains are your C tags. There'll be some out there late season. Usually a buck tag is always an A tag. A bull tag is always an A tag. Some cow tags are A's. So that's knowing what you're applying for. Does that make sense?
Do you care if I answer Emily here real quick? So Emily, if you go to Parks and Wildlife CPW, and you can even type in just regulations, you can download the PDF of this that we're showing you, and you can also be on the same pages as we're referencing pages. Okay, second thing on A is typically the more desirable. So that's like your bulls, or if you're getting to hunt a cow in an area where the herds are nicer size, that would be a cow tag, might be an A tag in there. The C tags are places where they don't really care. They don't really want a lot of the population out there. That's why you can have as many as you want. I don't know, a lot of those places are on private land, so I don't know anybody, or I would grab some C tag.
Yeah.
If you guys know anybody, let us know.
So when you're in this thing, I can't move it. It's something when you're doing that.
Okay, let's get you back. I'll see if I can get you back. Sorry. You know what I can do is I can get on Zoom on my phone.
What's D?
So
D is yours.
yeah, so D is for deer.
Oh, okay.
E is for elk in here. When you guys start clicking through, when you get to elk,
Say it's a species.
it's a species.
I gotcha.
So we have elk, and then you can see that you have archery, muzzleloading, and we're going to talk about archery, muzzleloading, and rifle. Yeah.
I don't know if my chat.
Yeah.
My really. There we go. I don't see. We don't use chat.
Okay. Okay. So, ladies, again, we can answer some after because we can spend days on this stuff here. But I wanted to go to this part of Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Oh, where am I?
I don't know. I'm lost.
Oh, where
I
am
think you're in the tail end.
I'm like way off. I'm way off.
You guys got a commercial.
So we talked about, Beth, we talked about page 20, shows you the different A, Bs and what we were talking about. Then we went and looked at a deer unit that showed A, B, and C. These are the over-the-counter units. See how white means you have to do preference points. This is where you're holding preference points. All of these other areas are over-the-counter.
Right.
That means
for rifle.
Okay, for rifle. Okay, for rifle, they're over the counter. So that means you can go to, let's say you want to hunt this unit and you're not finding the elk, you can jump over this unit or this unit because it's an over the counter unit. You can hunt any of these yellow units with one tag. Where's that?
Where's the?
Page 40.
Help me out, Gene.
I got you.
You got me?
It's only for elk.
That is also valid. That's for elk only, yes.
Yes, okay, we're gonna tell. Every page has deer, it'll show you, yeah, deer is not over the counter, just elk. So see all that yellow? So let's say you want to go into 34. Let's say it's hard to see up here, but let's say you go into 34 and there's no elk or you can't find them. You can jump into 25, 26, 12, you can go all over the state. Anything that's yellow is over the counter.
I can tell lots of stories about moving units, and Lisa's like, you're too impulsive.
Donnell and I did 10 over the counties in one season. And I mean, we didn't know them.
This is archery. So archery is 30 days. Okay, so that helps.
We
didn't do that in 5 days.
And we used their maps for concentrations, and we had never been in them. We did what we tell you guys to do, and we found, and we didn't stay very long when you do 10 minutes. And we found elk and 8 immediately.
So 80% of brand new areas, we use concentration maps that HuntData does. And it shows you summer concentration, winter concentration, migration corridors. Now, one of the things we also do though is we'll park a car here and we'll park a car here and we'll hike through that area and we're calling the whole time. And we'll get into some of that stuff too, but that's ways to scout. This year we went to a brand new over the counter for turkey. Lisa shot a really nice common Rocky Mountain bird. Pretty cool. And we used our turkey maps. We have turkey maps that show roost and spring and winter concentration.
And I had never been there. I just saw it and I knew it was public land. I said, let's go look. And they were there. I'm not saying they're always there, but you have to call and stuff like that. So it was fun. So this, what I'm showing you right here, there's a thing called, it started 2 years ago. It's called the second draw. The first draw was in April. And you guys may have got in it or may have not. I don't know if you applied or you didn't. And Tracy's over one, yes, I did. So let's say you got in, if you didn't do, let's say you got in the first draw and didn't draw anything you wanted or didn't, you know, whatever. The second draw in the next week or so is going to come out. It's called the second draw. And that's, so let's use 391. You guys know that we're in 391 now, right? Yeah. Let's say there's 500 tags here, but only 450 people applied. So there's still 50 tags left. Those are going to be in the second draw. Does that make sense? They give out 500 tags in 391 and they still have 50 to give out. So that's where you go. But in the second draw, it's no preference points used and they don't give you any, or they can't take any or give you any. It's just a second draw. The first draw, you get a preference point if you don't get it, and they take preference points if you do get it.
And then you can look online, of course, not in the book, but on the leftover list and see how many tags are available.
Yeah.
So you can make your choice.
Yes, it'll be out in the next probably week or so. Do you guys think? The 21st. Yep, I think it's well, it says right here. Big game applications start June 21st through the 30th.
So they have
to be out before the 21st because people were wanting to look at.
Yeah, you'll want to look at this and say what units have left over. There were quotas that weren't met in the draw. And then when that second draw is done, come August is the free for all. And what I mean by that, it's called the leftover draw. And the leftover is not only the second draw leftover, it's Kylie drew a tag and it cost her 5 points. And now Kylie's got to go to New York City because her boss says she can't get out of this meeting and she can't hunt. So Kylie turns her tag in so she can get her preference points back or her money. You can't have both. You can't do both. 30 days before your hunt, if you turn your tag in, you get your money back at $50 or you get your 5 preference points. I highly tell you to take your preference points.
Minus the $15 prize.
I don't know. Does
Wyoming does not do that.
Oh, they don't do that.
So Danielle, can I get?
No, there's no questions.
Okay, so Stephanie, this year I didn't apply for all of that because my husband usually helps me and he's like, I can't, I'll get to you. And he never did. And then I went in there and I panicked and I just do it. So second draw, you had to have applied for your license and all that.
No.
So there's still hope.
You just don't get any points.
Oh, okay.
You just missed out on getting a point this year. So every year you're getting another point.
I thought it was
Does the second draw have more B and C?
It's less desirable.
Yeah.
Months. Yes. So, and yeah, and I wanted to reference quotas. She said quotas. So for example, I'll stick with her example here in 391. The biologists, they all said, hey, we could do 100 tags here. Well, then in the first draw, maybe if only 80 people applied and they gave those tags out, there are now 20 left over. And that's how that works. And there's actually a lot more behind it. There's called BAUs and they look at herds and then they, based on application, it's pretty technical. Like I said, we've worked with licensed data for like 30 years, but it's pretty technical what they do behind the scenes. And even this year they had to adjust it. I don't know if you saw the publication they did a couple of weeks ago, but due to all the winter kill, they had to adjust some of the tags in the northwest part of Colorado, which we want them to do. Like if we're seeing the herd sizes come down, we don't want to. Yeah. So any more questions on that? So secondary draw doesn't cost you a point. You're not going to get a point. You missed out. You missed your window. My son-in-law a year ago, he's like, you just have to know him. He's an avid hunter, and He has like 8 points. And he's so excited. He's trying to hunt this unit. And he missed the draw. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but they extended it for a day for whatever reason. And
because the system crashed.
the system crashed. And they used to let you go all the way to midnight, and then they switched it up to 8. And that's now the Trump people. But anyway, my son-in-law missed the whole thing, right? And so he is so sad. He's like just pouting. And the next morning I saw where they said they were giving everybody that today. I said, I don't know, you must be living right. I don't know, but you have another chance. So, but yeah, most people, that deadline's at around April 6th, April 5th. It's the first part of April.
First Tuesday in April.
There you go, first Tuesday in April. See, get the big wigs here. So I don't even know what's ahead of us here. 2023 big game. So this is also another place we always like to look when we get our regs. These are just the dates you want to pay attention to. So
On the back.
it's on the very back of the regulations you guys have. So you're at, see, there's at 8 p.m. April 4th. It was at 8 p.m. Draw results were posted May 30th. June 5th, we surrender period deadline. Hang on, I'm going down. So our secondary limited, we talked about that June 21st. The deadline is June 30th at 8 p.m. Please. That used to be midnight. I'm like, no people want to do that. It's mailing me in the pants. But anyway, so that's just another good place to look. If you can't remember what the dates are, look on the back. I don't know if she's gonna talk about applying here. So this is, we were gonna go live. When you come to Parks and Wildlife, this is the screen you're gonna see. Here's where you click on sign in. You guys all have CID numbers? Yeah. Yes. No. Yes. So this is where you'll come and sign in. Now, if you've been doing the apprentice program, you obviously probably don't have a CID. And this is where you're going to get set up. Come here and tell me what you're wanting to do in here.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm running your
well, I'm sure Stephanie Wising got locked out.
Oh, did she not come?
Oh, the gate shut.
Oh,
okay, so this is, I don't know who shut it, but I can't get it. I just let her just did. Kelly's waiting out, but so this is online. So when you go online at Colorado Parks and Wildlife, it'll ask you to sign in or create an account. This is where whoever's been applying for you, yourself or a family member, you have to sign in. And this is where you have a CID number, which is a Colorado identification number, right? Customer ID number. If you don't think you have one, if you've been boating in Colorado, camping in Colorado, hunting in Colorado, or fishing, you have a CID number. You might not know you have one, but you do. So look yourself up right here. It says look up and it'll tell you, and then you'll have to create a password. That's how you get in to know how to renew your OHV, how to apply for hunting tags and that sort of thing. I want you to be familiar with this because this is how you apply for hunting tags. And talking people through this is kind of difficult sometimes. So this is my account. You'll see it says welcome, Lisa. It has
your guys' number in there?
Nope. It has, I view all, I have 155 things in here, all my draws and my privileges, any vehicles I've registered here at Colorado Parks and Wildlife, I can renew it. But I wanted to see what I drew this year and I'd love to show you, but I can't, but I'd show you a sheep and a goat tag. But if you want to know your preference points, you can get on this. Like I said, you're in your account, you go into your preference points. Now, when you're ready to draw, you go into go hunting and fishing. And it'll bring you to this, and it's asked you if you're a resident, and just follow the prompts here. And then you go into, I want to apply for black bear, you open that up, and then you can start putting those GM units that are in that book under black bear, wherever that book is at. So you can open up your deer, you can open up your elk, and you can apply for all of these things in one sit down. So like this was all due April. And then we'll have the second draw. This is how you will apply on the second draw.
Can I say one thing? Mm-hmm. So you're going to get a point per species. A lot of people just go, oh, I went and got my point. Well, you want to get one for deer, you want to get one for elk, you want to get one for sheep, moose, and you're going to love that you're a resident, because when you're a non-resident, you're picking all of that, it costs you a lot more.
Yeah. So elk and deer and moose don't cost you anything except the application fee of $8. But moose, sheep, and goat, you pay $50 for every preference point that you do. So not only do they give you a preference point, they say it's $50 to get one. So if I had 22 years, I paid a lot of money for just preference points over that time.
There is a new option that can have a question.
No, I just wanted to let everybody know that if people want to put in for the secondary draw, they do have to have a,
Small game or fishing license.
small
yes.
game, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, turkey.
And they can buy one.
Yes,
And that's where you have to have hunter's education.
yes, you do.
You can't do that under the apprentice. In order to apply for a license, you can go out hunting with me, but we're gonna go to an over the counter. If you're applying, you have to have hunter's education because you have to buy a small game tag and a fishing tag or a turkey tag just to apply.
Not the fish, you don't have to have a fish.
Oh, fishing, okay, that's just to apply. So, and the only way you can get those is have hunter's education.
And no preference points on the second.
No, preference points don't know nothing. You don't get any, they don't take any.
Okay.
You can even get a Christmas tree.
But remember when I was telling you how Kylie gave her tag back and it took her 4 points to draw it? She gave it back. So now it goes in the leftover one in August. So every Wednesday, is it Kim? Is it Wednesdays?
The first one is the Tuesday, and then after that is Wednesdays.
Every Wednesday, it's a rat race here because leftover,
And I got one of those tags.
yeah, they update it all the time. And then on Wednesdays, they sell them. So your tag goes on the leftover tag. It costs you 4 points, but whoever picks it up on the leftover, 0.
It depends. It depends. Some of those higher points.
They call
Yeah, they call them.
If it's
It has to be 5 or more.
if Kylie's tag was 5 points that she drew it, you'll never see it on the leftover because they call the next person in line. But if it was 4 points and it cost you 3, and I picked up your tag on the leftovers, it didn't cost me any points. But does that make sense? It doesn't cost
Guys
you
get people to spend the night sometimes. They came down.
At 2 o'clock, they'll be here the day before at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they'll stay there all night.
You can pop on that list, but you can also do it just from your home.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, you can sit there, but you literally refresh. Okay, it's 9. You're like typing all your stuff, and I got a cow tag, and I rushed so fast. I have a cow down in 80 or 81. I still get a confused 80, and a lot of those cow tags are 80 and 81, and it was a PLO tag, and I have 40 acres. I'm like, great, I have a cow on there. I'm so excited. I got the opposite of what it was, only 80 or only 81, whichever it was. So then I had to go like network like crazy with landowners, but I got a network. It was a funny story, but I felt like I won I felt like Lisa that I won the lottery.
So Tracy, you're up.
So is the apprenticeship program through Colorado Parks and Wildlife or through the HuntNDivas?
Parks and Wildlife. So, but you can be an apprentice if you're a licensed hunter.
Yeah.
So if you have a girlfriend at work that says, well, Tracy, I really want to go out, and you say, I'll take under my wing and we'll sit in a blind together and we'll go here.
But you have to
go
go
all the
to Wildlife or online and get your apprentice. It doesn't cost you anything.
No.
But it'll say you're an apprentice.
So then how does I'm just curious, how does the person you're taking, what do they fill out? And so they harvest.
So the thing I was telling you about, I took her to, I actually was Walmart, and we went in there and they took my CID number and they filled out all the forms and they made sure I was there with her. But I can't control her. She would have went out on her own, but she could have, but she was with us the next day.
Yeah, we're here when they buy the apprentice, they just have to be with us. I don't have to be here for you to purchase it. Like if I'm taking you, you can go to anywhere and get it, but then when we go in the field.
They asked for my CID.
Oh, they did?
I don't know, Kim.
No, yeah, you have to have a CID. The only thing we tell customers when they do the apprentice is that you have to be with somebody that has their hunter ed.
Right.
You have to be in sight and hearing. They have to carry their hunter ed card.
Right.
And if at any time, if an officer sees you that walk away from Lisa when she's got her hunter ed, you could both lose your apprentice.
How do you keep track of that?
That's a gray area.
Well,
I don't know.
Because when you do the apprentice license, it's gonna be attached to your CID.
Oh,
And
okay.
so when you.
So they already know I'm taking.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah, hey, where's your person?
Well, not every time you that you're saying that you will.
Yeah.
Like I get mine every April I apply for licenses, I apply for my apprentice. And it doesn't cost you anything, but I want to be able to take people at that time. It usually happens in Turkey, but that's a very controlled, we're in a blind, it's a shotgun. I even try to get them out if it's possible to take a few shots, but yeah. I mean, obviously you're going with they don't know a lot.
Yeah, and then when you're doing the harvest reports, and if the person you're taking harvests something, Does it go on your
No.
CID or is it there? And then is there a separate report like for the, I'm sorry, I asked so many questions. Is there a separate report for like the apprenticeships on how many they participate?
That I could not.
I don't know
how they keep track of that.
I mean, I haven't got called for it. I mean, they took my seat. I was with her in my 100 safety.
Okay.
But
so these are I just kind of did this for fun. These are the species that you're applying for. These get preference points. Donnell drew a moose, and so that was where she had 3, and then she had 21 years.
I barely
but these are one day left. These elk and pronghorn. This was again a weighted. This is an 05, but these are what we're applying for every year. These are all A tags. So just to give you an idea, these are species in Colorado.
So can I do one quick commercial? I literally went into my boss. I kept applying for this area. Now this is like Lisa was saying, you can kind of get in a rut where you're like, oh, I just always apply for that. I never get drawn. I hadn't been up and looked around for moose for 3 years up there. And I drew the tag. Well, Steph knows this area is up by Walden, and they had a fire, like 2 back-to-back fires, and I wasn't even finding out. And so I met the guy from the year before the shots. I'm sorry, moose. That shot a really nice moose the year before, and he meets me for dinner the night before. He goes, "I'm going to be your coach. I'm not going to let you shoot something small. You're going to check in with me every night." And like on day 12, I'm like, I've only seen 1 teeny moose. He goes, "You need to shoot anything you see." What'd you say?
Oh. Okay, so we're not gonna get out of here. Again, this is very knowledgeable. If you've never wanted to, I hope you.
You're like never happy with how they grew them.
You wouldn't be the first to say this is the most confusing thing, but if you guys can figure out A, B, and all that, and the species, we've got it way. So what's going on here?
Somebody was muted and I just took care of it.
Okay, now we're gonna get into the beginning hunting.
Hang on, give me a second.
Okay. I didn't apply, I didn't draw your tag, second draw, leftover licenses. So we've talked about the second draw coming up at the end of June, and in August, there's gonna be leftover licenses. Remember, 70, whatever the number is, 70% of Colorado in elk is over the counter. Rifle. So you're not, I've talked to numerous new people in Colorado that they said, yeah, I didn't hunt elk last year. And I'm like, why not? And he goes, well, I didn't draw anything. I said, why didn't you just go buy it over the counter tag? They didn't know. They didn't understand that they could do that. So you can draw, you can go and pick up an over the counter tag all day long in 3 seasons.
Do you have to be in that game management?
No, not over the counter.
So
Remember
if
the yellow?
I could go here.
If it's over the counter, remember that map I showed you all the yellow? You can, if you can touch every unit if you want.
Yeah, so 85 is yellow. So
Yeah,
85.
Yep. It's over the counter for second and third. And it is for as well. It's all free.
Go ahead, Donna, you're up. Data maps.
So your first, one thing to keep in mind is your first season elk is always limited. Again, there's a lot of those in leftover too, though. So just pay attention to that because it doesn't mean that if you miss the first one that you can't go first. And also it's not combined with deer. So first elk is elk only, correct? I believe that's right. Am I making that up? Is that right?
First what?
First elk season is just elk and deer and then combined second.
Boy, they're reading my thing again.
Did I do it for you again? So hang on. If I click here, usually if I click,
Yes.
Is that correct? Yes. First season is elk only, I believe.
Yeah.
And then second, third, fourth, deer, and then.
There are some early deer seasons though.
Yeah.
But that's just knowing right. Okay.
Anyway. So scouting is part of the fun part. Lisa and I told you we do horseback trips to the wilderness, as far as movies. But anyway, on one of those trips, Lisa's cousin was out here, and I said, "Hey, I want to go early and set some game cameras in a new unit I heard about." And so I pulled up my concentration maps. I looked at summer concentrations. I had 3 cameras with me. It was cute because Kathy, your cousin's like, we're driving and this elk runs across the road as we're driving. She goes, "Stop, let's hang one of your cameras." So we did, and sure enough, I checked my camera about 3 weeks later and I had elk on it. But part of scouting is getting out, seeing where their tracks are, seeing where there's like somewhere for them to drink, looking for cover, and so. Yeah, she's already been on this.
Okay.
She must have dropped off.
So yeah, scouting, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Scouting is you go again camping with your family and start looking for rough trees, and we're going to talk about that. Understanding the wind, what will mess you up more than anything at big game hunting is wind. Wind is everything, and that's not lightly. Thermals, heat rises. So in the morning, you're down in the bottom, and if you're the wind, it'll blow up and the heat rises as it gets hotter in the day. If you bump them while they're here, speak the language we call a lot. Donnell probably even brought a call because she doesn't know. She doesn't even know that one. This is a cow call.
This is a cow call. This is a diaphragm cow call. But I can bugle with this one. I can't bugle with this, but if I do a long, short, long, that's a cow in heat. So that's when the bulls come running. We had Whitney out with this. You want to bugle?
That's enough.
I hadn't had that out yet, but anyway, but it's fun. I made my own ears and holy cow. It was pretty fun. We had on my moose set, Lisa is, I always have to do commercials, I'm sorry. But Lisa said, I saw a couple of them down in the willows, and we had Whitney out here. She found some Facebook. Anyway, and so she comes out with me. She's a whitetail hunter. I set up on a ridge. I do literally just and that bull, she had told us where she thought, I didn't believe her. She told me, go to the third set of trees. And she'd seen them 3 miles across this field, right? I was looking for moose. And so I made the mistake of setting up too high, but we ended up both getting out. But I do the count on that bull come charging up out of those willows. And then it was like, and I go, yes, that's what I just did. I just said, I'm really beautiful. You want to come meet me? I love it. And so he's running over, and at that point, we're both ranging at the bottom. We're like, it's 60 yards to the bottom. And I said, I'm shooting because I got a moose tag. I had meant to turn that tag in, but you heard the 30-day rule, and I'd already drawn my moose, and I'm like, oh. And when you do your tags, there's a place on there to say, if I don't get picked, just sitting over the counter. I've never done that in my life, but I did that in 2019. So here I'm sitting with an elk tag and a moose tag. And what do you think I care about? I care about the moose tag. So I told her, I said, I'm shooting. I didn't even think I'd have a chance. So she goes, you shoot 60 yards. And I had that year practiced every night, 30, 40, 50, 60, because I had a moose tag. And so I shot the bull. Well, I keep calling, and I just took to just a calf call. I have a light green one on with me that I just a real light. And I got those 2 cows to run up to us. I've got a 3D decoy that I'm holding, which is weighing it. And so the cows ran up to us. So I'm ranging them. They're 50. I said, do you want a cow? Because that's the thing about an archery tag. It's over the counter, either sex. So I can shoot one or the other, not both, one or the other. So she's like, no, I just want to know. He goes, but I can't shoot 50 either. And I'm like, okay, so let's.
And why they're out there talking like that with those elk, I'll never understand. But
I go on my phone, like for 3 solid minutes. This is the one I was using. I was using the green mean because it's getting a calf with it. And so I'm calf calling. I said, you know what, just go for it. So she goes for it. They run. I said, there's a ridge there. If they go up that ridge, you run like heck and get up there. And she shoots the cow. Now we have 2 elk down. Lisa calls. She's antelope hunting. She goes, I'm making dinner back at the cabin. I said, no,
I wasn't at the cabin.
Well, anyway, when you called me, we're just like, we got 2 big game down, but I didn't tell her 2 because I figured I'd figure out. I go, we have an elk down. So, because that's when the work starts, and that's a whole nother class that Lisa might teach, but we'll keep going. But it's learning how to bone them out, get them out fast. We got that whole cow up that night.
So Donnell just did, this is my little pointer I set out here. Yeah. So Donnell just did an estrus call. She threw a bugle out and did some calf calls. Those are things that you can go, YouTube is amazing. And we could tell you all day long that that's just practicing. Your dogs will hate it if they're in the car because it hurts their ears. But it's practicing and just listening to YouTube. Lots of people will bugle, calf call, and one of our good friends is Wayne Carlton, and we have his calls, and he is just amazing. So you have to
make this for me. This is a cow. I shot a cow with him the year before, so then he made a call for me.
Yeah, these are like the rings that we have on our HuntNDivas, but these are ivory teeth from elk. They're chewer. Their top 2 teeth in their mouth are ivory, just like a walrus has ivory, just like an elephant has ivory, and that's their teeth.
But this is the 3D decoy that we were talking about. That only weighs a pound, and it rolls up, and I pop it in my pack. But it is a game changer because, like we said, we've hunted forever. Especially if you're an archery hunter, you get that elk that 100 yards out there, and he's looking like Lisa always says. Want to use your scenario?
Well, it's like when your grandma calls you or your mom says, "Come on, everybody! Beth makes an awesome dinner," and she says, "Come and join me at the table." You all come in the kitchen looking for Beth because she's been calling you, right? Wouldn't it be odd if you walked into the kitchen and Beth's nowhere around? You'd be like, where's Beth? Why would I go any closer? Because I don't see Beth. And they're doing the same thing. You've been calling to them and they see you. Turkeys do the same thing. They see you at ways. And then when they actually see a visual, they come. When they see nothing, they're like, something's not right. They're calling, but I don't see anything.
So in 2017, we helped Zach shoot that bull, and he had a cow with her, and we're sitting there, we're standing out in the sage. There was nothing, and we're holding her, and the cow just stood there with us. We're like, I don't like that. I'm like, my bow or somebody had attacked with us. And we stood there and looked at us because this is so realistic. It's like, and it's back. He has a backing on it, so the sun doesn't shine through it like the Montana ones. But
because you'll hear people a lot of times elk hunting or turkey hunting. I use both because they're interchangeable. They're so similar. That they say, I saw the Tommy hung up at 90 yards or 100 yards. Well, that's because you didn't have a decoy and he saw nothing. You've been calling him and he's been talking to you, but he saw nothing. So a bull's the same way. He'll come across the meadow or up a ridge and stuff, but he's looking for the cow that's been calling him. He's looking for the bull that's been bugling at him. And they see nothing, and they're not that down. They have to, their survival every day out there. They're like, I see nothing. I'm just gonna kind of wander off and go this way. There's nothing there, even though they're talking to me. So decoys we have found.
And that's a butt head, is that what
it's called? A butt head. Yeah, it's from Wayne Carlton. And he took a real live elk, obviously, and he made it 3D. And then they're not that heavy. We fold them up and throw them out of that 6 pounds.
They're a pound exactly.
A wildlife study determined that 90% of hunters stay within 1 mile of the road, while 95% of the elk stay more than 1 mile. You do the math. You don't even have to be good at math with this.
So you're lucky today because you went 2 miles. Right?
You're a history buff, but so if you're willing to get a mile, this is the biggest reason most people don't go a mile from their camp, don't go 500 yards from their camp. How am I going to get an 800-pound animal back? How am I not going to get lost? What would I do by myself, Tracy? You're by yourself and you dropped an elk 2 miles from your camp. What are you going to do? So this is what I'm going to tell you.
1-800-LISA.
You're going to go, yes, take all the selfies in the world with your watch. And then we teach this, and if you take that number 4 class, but we bone, we do the gutless method, so it's not a bloody mess. And you can, I don't care if you're 100 pounds or 200 pounds, it doesn't matter. You can do an elk by yourself. I know you don't think you can, but you can. And
but that's started with Whitney. We literally boned it all out. We took the whole cow out by ourselves, 3 ladies.
Yeah. Now it might take you more trips. You're not going to get an elk out by yourself in 1 trip, but you just have to go back and forth. But it can be done. We pack everything on our backs and we bone everything out. So what a lot of people do in the old days, they used to harness up and everyone or 2 guys would pull or gals, and then they wonder why they had a chiropractor appointment for the next year and all that. They're trying to drag an 800-pound animal. It's insane. So right where they lay, we take the hide back, we start taking the sections off, and we take all the meat just like a butcher would, and we put it in game bags. And then we pack the meat out on backpacks. And again, if you only want to carry a 50-pound backpack, then that's all you carry. You're just going to have to take more trips. So that's another class, but her 4th, when they show you how to process animals and stuff. Because when you bring it to even if you have the whole animal in the back of your truck, 1, I want to know how you got it or what tractor you use. And 2, there's Stephanie. She must have gotten my gate. Must have stayed open. Annie, come on in, Steph. Go ahead. You can right by her. Steph, was the gate open?
No, I was already through the gate. I've been out in the parking lot listening to you guys. I don't see the door.
I'm sorry. So, well, you didn't technically catch me your way. I do. So anyway, we can talk elk all day, which we will. We're going to talk a little bit about scent and thermals. As the sun rises, the thermals begin to drift upward as they warm in the evening. And as it cools, the thermals will begin to settle downhill. That's important if you have elk bugling at the bottom, knowing how thermals work, because you have to play the wind. If you walk into the wind, that's good, but if you walk and the wind's blowing down, they're already gone. So You'll hear me talk turkeys and elk a lot. I know they're two different species, but they're like a lot alike. Elk can smell, turkeys cannot. So that's what's fun about turkeys. You can wear perfume and anything you want because they can't smell. So
a fun little thing about thermals, and Wayne actually taught us this. If you can hear a bull bugling and like thermals going up. He said, take the next ravine over, go up over and come in on top of them. And I actually did that very next year and it worked. And it's literally a place I'd hunted for years. And I called him the chuckler. I could never see him. He always outsmarted me because of scent. And I was like, where'd that work? So again, if you got the thermals going up this ravine, you come over, go up the next ravine, come up and over above them. So that's
thermal like a warm air.
Yes.
Air.
It's a warm air, so it just as heat rises and then as it settles back down. And that's what, like, I've got a place down in, I told you, 81, whichever, I can't remember that. And there's canyons down there, and I've got so many elk down there, but I cannot figure out the winds in the canyons swirl. And it just, I haven't shot an elk down there yet, and I bump up against them, but I've never been able to shoot one yet. It drives me crazy. I call it the corn maze stuff.
Plan on rising early, be in place before sun rises. That is great. We do that a lot often, but I can tell you most of my animals I have shot mid-afternoon. And it's crazy because when everyone's wiped out and tired and they're already heading back, elk and deer are a lot like human beings. Like you can only sit so long and they have to get up and eat and stretch. You'll see them get up and they'll move around noon, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, and then they'll go lay back down, but they graze a little bit. And they do dumb things in the afternoon too that you hope. So, but if we stay out all day, if I can get you back 6 miles, I'm not going to bring you back to have lunch. We're going to eat lunch out there. We're going to take a nap. Always glass, because like I said, they stay up. And then stay out of their elk beds. If you go disturb, if you see them go lay down in these trees or whatever, and you know, like at 4 o'clock, they're going to come out. The moment you go into their elk beds and mess with that, they're gone. They're like rich. You'll never see them again. They'll be out of the country. So these are just some kind of key things to, go ahead, Donna.
I have to read it. Moved out in the evening to graze and drink. So what, like Lisa was saying, if you know they've gone into a place to bed down, we did this in Creed with a friend of ours. He shot a massive 5x5, it scored 340, but it's a cool bull, but he had gone into bed down and we were throwing out some call and he'd bugle from his bed. But we just stayed there all day long.
8 hours we sat on him.
And I had to leave. My daughter had a volleyball game, so I left, and then they stayed, and he eventually came back out.
And sure, about 4 o'clock, 4:30, the cow came out, and we'd never seen this bull. We only heard him. We figured he was big. Calf came out, and the bull came behind him. Yeah, just waited, but we got out of the winds, and we stayed high, and we stayed on him all day long. So this is kind of ideas of when you're glassing. Let's say you've started down here, and you've worked your way up this ridge, and you've swallowed a lung like Kim. She said I killed her today. But you get up here, taking a nap up here, if you're not sure where the elk are, you missed them, or by the time you got here, they already went into cover something. But glassing and making a plan. If you hypothetically, I don't want to go back across this mountain, but let's say you're glassing here and that you saw these elk go in here, chances are they're going to come right back out here and feed. So you got to figure out the winds so you can, so when they come out of their beds that you're ready either with a rifle or a bow, whatever you're doing. But you're getting up high and glassing helps you make a plan. You might have missed that morning plan, but now you have an evening plan and you have a tomorrow plan. So it's pretty key. Sometimes when you get up late, I know it's hard to get up at 4 and 5 in the morning, but you don't have to do it forever. But it's at least seeing where they go, so you have a plan when they come out.
Like I've recently started hunting in Arizona, and I do like it's almost a December hunt. It's right at Thanksgiving, and it is spot and stalk. I can call, but they don't really come to it. This last year actually. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's all about glassing, and she's really good at it. I'm really bad at it. I'm learning to get better at it because I just run right by that and Lisa go, oh look, there's 3 elk right there. I'm like, really?
So we're not bright enough to say, this is me glassing. We literally could see elk over here or over here. I've always said there's no mountain high enough or no valley wide enough that I wouldn't chase them because I don't have the thought, and I should, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I have such faith in my hunt data and I use Onyx and hunt data both. I have such faith in my whereabouts as I don't even know where I'm going per se, but I hit my tracking, I mark where I'm at my camp, and I just go. Because I have faith in it's never let me down yet. And so
the only caveat to that is take a backup something.
Yeah.
If your battery sucking and put it in airplane mode, both of those apps work in airplane mode, just a little commercial.
It's always nice to talk when you have an area and you want to know more about. Hey, be friendly, even if you're an introvert. I did that today. I went and I said, hey, how's the fishing up at Stoughton State Park? They're like, it's pretty good. And he goes, well, do you want to try it? I said, sure. I had my license on me, so I borrowed his pole, went out, caught a fish. These guys are laughing at me. So I caught a fish today at Stoughton. So
I have something to say about that. So a lot of times, and I've had it happen to me more than once, you show up at the trailhead and there's like 2 other trucks and everybody's getting out and you feel that disappointment, like, oh, and I said, it's like Lisa said, you can either be really pissed off about it or you can network and just say, hey, what are you going to do? Because you can play off each other and sometimes you can bump stuff to each other. So it's awkward and sometimes that's worked for me. Sometimes the other people are not so nice, but usually they're cool about it and say, hey, you go over here, we'll go over here. So we're not just sitting there trying to race each other to a spot. So
this one was just some information. Again, knowing where you're going, getting on ridges and glassing, asking where they eat, drink, and bed. They're habitual and they're migratory animals. They'll do the same thing every day until you screw it up. And I don't mean that bad, but the moment you go in and bugger them, they'll move. If you watch them go every day from this at 4 o'clock, and they have the same calendar you do when hunting starts, trust me. But every day you watch them, whatever, 4:30 they're out feeding, and then they come over here to drink. They'll do that all day long until they smell you. And they're migratory animals. Where they go in the summer, they go in the winter. They'll get there.
See, I like putting out trail cameras as much as I like hunting. I have so much fun going out and gathering.
Question about that. So you can put up trail cameras anywhere, and
you can. You have to put your name and number on them. You have to be willing to lose them. I've
never
lost one yet. I've never lost one yet.
Anybody that hikes through there,
they can. They could. They haven't for me yet. And I don't put thousands out, but I just find a couple places. I find a wall that's pretty hard to get to. It's not on the beaten path, if you will. So, but and honestly, like when I took her cousin out, Kathy, and daughter Maddie, they were just like, this has been so cool. Because I then sent them the pictures like 2 weeks later, and they're like, no way, because you're sending pictures like that.
Now, if you're doing pictures that send you them right away, like they're on Wi-Fi or cellular, a lot of people do that on their private land. Because and if you do that, you can't hunt within 24 hours or something.
Yes, 24 hours.
24 hours. But do you have cameras on your place yet?
No, not down where they.
Yeah.
Most of the places I hunt don't have cell service, but you'll see that on iHunt Colorado. People get emotional about it. Like there are people that don't like it, but I for the most part just use it.
But you'll see if you have a game camera. Let's say you're in national forest and there's a trail that looks like if there's so many trails there, it looks like where's the stoplight. You'll know that every day at 2:30 they walk through there, or maybe they only come through that section at night. That's probably not a good place to hunt because you can't hunt them at night. So you need to find where they're at during the daylight hours. So that might, even though you're getting them during the dark, you need to find where you're getting them in the light. Does that make sense? Every night they come, but they only come at night on this particular spot of the trail.
Right.
So this is me and her son Zach. But this is where Zach had an elk tag, and we got up high, and this is his unit, and we're glassing all of these places to plan a hunt. So we just get up as high as you can, and sure enough, you're dying. It's not easy. This is where we talked earlier about studying unit maps, game unit maps. Find an area with the type of terrain offering the hunt you want. Look for benches, escape routes for animals. Look for saddles. You guys can read this. Look for feeding areas, study private public land status, which all the maps have it. Get printed maps at HuntNDivas if that's what you want. And then develop a plan, A, B, and C. You'll go in there with A, plan A. Donnell likes to talk about plans. Go ahead.
Well, just with plan A, B, and C, is if I do show up at the trailhead and maybe there's 4 trucks there, I'm like, you know what, peace out. I'm going to go over here. So I always have a couple different options in my pocket just so that I don't get really, really sad because it's my most wonderful favorite time of the year. So I want to have a good experience. This is the Avenza that we use with Hunt Data. Again, it's very similar to Onyx. We were actually around way before them. They have way better marketing and they got way more detailed maps. But we actually both use both of them for different reasons. Avenza Maps runs cleaner with your battery. If you're using tracking, Onyx just sucks my battery. And I'm like 80%, and I look down, I'm at 40, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here. And that freaks me out, right? I do, like I said, carry a backup, something to charge it. Don't go in there if you're relying on that exclusively to get in and out. It has absolutely changed my hunting. I'm not real good. Lisa's like part Indian, so she looks up and goes, "Oh, there's region number 4." I mean, everything looks the same to me. And when I get back there, a tree looks like a tree. So I absolutely lean heavily on this, and I hunt till dark and I come out at dark. And because of that, I get to see a lot more elk, because before I was hiking out to get out before it got dark, and I was hiking out during the best hunting times. So a lot of times, like she said, what the best hunting is a mile back. Well, guess what? If I'm coming out and I'm a mile back, I'm going to be walking in the dark. But if you go back to events and maps, if you guys want to download this, it's a free app. I'll give you 2 or 3 free maps here today, just to let you guys play with it. Go forward. Where was the tracking at?
I haven't got there yet.
Oh, no, back there. Here we go. So
I'm going to get to that.
It'll lay breadcrumbs for you. So you can just say, we always turn tracking on, because why? We always lay stuff down. I told you I have a decoy, I have binoculars, I have my bow. I actually laid my bow down during the stinking moose season and left my bow on the mountain. That's how exhausted I was. I had 21 days back to back to back. I was at the end of sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night, because I was getting more and more desperate, because I'm like, I want to kill moose. And so because of that, I started making mistakes. But when I had my tracking on, I just went, okay. And you know, I struggled with it because, anyway, long story short, I got my bow back, but one of my nocturnals was blowing lightly, and that's how I actually got it. It was after dark, but that's a happy story. If you go to the app store, if you download Avenza Maps and you just want Unit 391, because she's talked about that, we actually have a hybrid map which shows you land use and those concentrations that we were talking about on top of each other. That's where I think HuntNDivas is better. We do a lot more of it's more detailed on those concentrations of migration corridors, and it really makes a difference. They use cow collars and in those herds, when those cows have patterns, that's how they chart all that data. And it's really good information.
Like a lot of the ladies we talk to and men, the reason they leave early to get out before dark and whatever, they think they're gonna get lost. And that's, again, understand, that's why I think if you guys wanted to load a map tonight, you would download Avenza Maps. And I've told Donnell, let's do, I mean, not that this is your unit, but if you did 391, you could track yourself from here when you leave, drop a pin and track yourself all the way home. You could practice that just in the area of Denver right now, just to have fun. It's plug and play. And then when you're ready to get your unit or something, she can do that too. But I just think it would be
I think the number one thing that we find that women are intimidated by is, will I get lost? And so if I can know that I'm going to get back to my vehicle, and you start small, just do a 1/4 of a mile, do a 1/2 of a mile, come back and feel good about it. But I probably trust this too much. And we've done some crazy stuff where we've done 16 miles in a day. Because like I told you, we'll park a car here, hike through this concentration and calling the whole way. And it's Marco Polo waiting for that call back. And then we find the animals.
And we have no idea where we're going.
We don't. And so sometimes
we track ourselves, but we don't know. I've never been.
And what helped us up in Franklin Wilderness was we did this deal where we started at 3 in the morning and got way up to this, and we're like, we did like a triangle. We're like, let's just do the hypotenuse back. No, that was bad. We went through, marched up to our quads, like it was, we were like, and we had to keep going because it was, you know, it was night, you had to get out, you know. But yeah.
So Hunt Data and Onyx too, but Hunt Data runs off of your cell phone, and it runs off of, you go to airplane mode. You do not have to be in service. Your iPhones or your droids, those are Garmin's in your hand right there. You probably don't know that. Those are satellite chips in there. That's how you get directions to come here tonight. It was a satellite directions. It wasn't just cell tower. So the maps aren't used through cell tower, they're used through the satellite.
The cell tower only sends you the map, like the Apple Maps. The apps we use work with exclusively.
Because you know Donnell, she's going to give you maps tonight if you want any. But when you're ready to get maps, you can go to the Avenza store. All the Hunt Data maps are in the store now. So you would type in unit, I don't know, let's say you want to hunt unit 44. You'll go and put Hunt Data. It'll say what unit, Colorado unit 62 here, and then you hit for $4.99. You can buy the unit digitally. It's on your phone.
There's a lot of different kinds. There's a topo, there's a concentration, there's a land use, there's a hybrid. The hybrid will show you.
It's right here.
The hybrid will show you the land use and the summer concentration. There we go. Yeah, see.
I've been to a class on that because I bought your maps.
Yes. We need to have coffee.
Okay. So if I had a flat map here, these are concentrations. See where it says a migration corridor? It says the routes. This is where they have their babies on the map. So when we see yellow on the map, this is where they're at. If I was a bow hunter or muzzle loader, I'd know that one. And then if you want the winter concentrations, they're right here, they're blue. So I'm gonna go back here, right here. This is the, see where this is blue? That is a winter concentration right here. See the yellow in here? That's where they're having their babies. They're not going too far from summer to winter. They're in the same area kind of. So if I'm a bow hunter, I'm looking at this yellow and I'm looking at this red right here. If I'm a rifle hunter, depending on what season they start to migrate into the blue. So that's for concentration. And this is just one section of a small
This
map.
right here is my favorite in the whole world.
That's a resident
herds, which means there's elk there year round. So if I see a resident herd and it's on, and then this is the other thing I like Steph, you just bought a place down south, but like if, let's say Steph's place is out here, she can hunt here, but I can't, but I can maybe get out on a road here and hike and get up in that little peninsula here. These are just sweet spots. If you then throw the hybrid over the top here, this is the hybrid. Okay, so this hybrid there's your concentration over here. See this little corner here that has a private. I try to get corners that butt up against private. There's just less pressure. And so those are sweet spots. This picture, go to the picture because I want to tell it. So we got these maps in 2000, which is the first time I drew my first bull limited draw. And I pulled the blue. I'd never hunted this unit in my life. It's how I met her because she had a cabin there. I pull up this and I go out the first morning and this is what I saw. And up until then, I'd had it for 4 years and over the counter, and I was chasing the same sad little cow that had a cow collar on it. And I was like, where's the freaking bulls in this unit? You know, but anyway, I got horses, I did the whole 9 yards. I go up to the unlimited draw area, and for the first time in my life, I saw multiple elk together. And so that's why you want to do the preference points. That's why you want to, because some of those you might not get to hunt them maybe once a decade, but it's still a really great hunt at one time. So anyway.
These are just like, so this is the winter range on the maps. And again, if we had this is these are all on the maps, even the digital ones. It tells you, just kind of know white's private, BLM, Bureau of Reclamation and Land Management, as those are public lands, but white, just always know on the
You
maps.
have to be careful with state. A lot of times people see the blue state and like, oh, it's public land, not always. So you really need to do your homework on the state land. So.
These are on phones. This is what the maps look like. They show you where these are migrations. You can drop a pin right here and track you all the way through, and you shoot an elk here, and that's and you're on airplane mode through that whole thing. So these are they run off satellites. These are just kind of the same thing. Fine, those are different things you can do.
This is the crazy stuff Lisa and I'll do. We'll say we'll take the measure tool, and let's say we see a concentration over here. We'll use the measure and we'll go, okay, that's 5 miles. Every once in a while we miss a spot. We're not actually.
But notice on this, you can see this. It says no service, but we know where we're at. We can drop a pin. If let's say you're trying to hunt this little BLM section right in the middle of all this private. Let's say you drop an elk and you've been tracking yourself and you drop a deer or an elk or something right here. And this landowner comes over and said, that's my bull elk. You can't be on my property. You can show him you're not on his property. Even if he calls the game warden, you can show him.
And that's another reason to keep your tracking. I've had it happen to me twice actually. And a guy was on me and I said, he goes, I'm going to call wildlife office. I said, go for it. I got my tracking. I was actually running both. I was running Onyx and mine. I said, I'm running 2 side by side right now. I have not stepped on your property. And so you do it to save yourself. I had another guy where we'd shot an elk, same thing. It was a little peninsula like that. And he goes, did you guys get an elk up there? And I said, yeah. And he goes, you trespassed? I said, no, I didn't. And you know, and it just gets them off your back, because it is crazy how much those ranchers, because they get a lot of money for it. They sell landowner tags and they get $7,000 to $10,000 for those hunts. So they're going to pressure you.
This is an example of, she just, Donnell decided to make a fun tracking, but this was tracking. It tells you how many hours you've been tracking, how much elevation. You can drop pins. All these pins mean something if you open them. You can do all that on your phone.
Go back. My favorite part to do though is to click here and export it, and then I throw it on Google Earth. With Google Earth, you can drill down into the brass blade. I mean, it's so detailed. And so then I can see exactly everywhere I just hiked. And a lot of times you'll see, oh my gosh, there was a water source, maybe just one ravine over. And so that's kind of what Google Earth, I love Google Earth, but anyway.
So summer concentrations, that's again, if you're going to bow hunt or muzzle load, you kind of want to know summer concentrations. That's what you'll see in there. get high and glass. I can't tell you. You could glass for hours, just kind of trying to find out. I wanted to get into ways of hunting because that was part of our thing. So this is a compound bow, this is a long bow, and a recurve bow. These are all three things that you can hunt with during archery. And some of you guys,
7:30.
I know,
okay.
I'm hurrying.
Okay.
So you can archery hunt. I'm going to fly through these. The habitat, bulls are gathering, the cows speak the language. Again, they're mating this time of year, so we're playing on their not being very smart. The bulls.
Go back to one thing here. When you are looking at maps, this is really huge. If I'm looking at a new unit, you look for roadless. If you can see an area that doesn't have any easy way to it and a concentration is there, hands down, I'm going to go try that out. I'm going to go scout it.
You can't see this, but I'm showing you different. This is muzzle loading up here. So this is where you can muzzle load. Muzzle loading, if you're not aware of it, it's where you pour powder in and you stuff the bullet. Okay. So there's a muzzle loading season in Colorado, right in the middle of September. It's beautiful. That's a great place to start hunting.
This is my favorite hunting story. You guys have 30 seconds.
It's
amazing. So on this hunt, she had used 13 points, I think, on this muzzleloader hunt. We had hunted our buns off the 2 days before in Steph knows this area. The vertical climb in there is just incredible. We were wiped. So we went to bed that night looking at setting your alarm at 4. We just didn't want to do it. Let's just sleep in.
I said, it's my hunt.
It's my hunt. We're sleeping in ours. It's like day 3. Sleep in, have breakfast. We don't even get on the mountain until like 10:30. And then we hike what we call the chute. And that took us another hour and a half, throw up, get up to the top. By the time we got up to the top, threw out some cow calls, we get a bugle back from him. And it's like 1. Remember she talked about the 1 in the afternoon. It was about 1 in the afternoon. And so we get the bugle back, but he's bedded with all his cows, I think. And so we kind of set up real quick and get her out in front, and I'm behind her calling, and nothing's coming. So we're like, okay, and we're aggressive hunters. A lot of people might have stayed there all day. We decided to close the distance between the bugles because if he's hot, he'll keep bugling back. If I come over here, you come to me. So we get up in there. Well, we end up bumping the herd. So we are in this deep, heavy forest. We're basically crawling through it, and we ended up in the middle of the herd. We called in 4 satellite bulls, and that big guy was still out there screaming. And so I finally looked at her and I said, "Keep going. I'm going to stay back." And so I stayed back and just kept calling so that he would slow down. I don't think it had anything to do with anything, but I did hear her boom, and I was like, "Yeah." So that's 138 yards ish. I think you shot him now. But for me, it was fun because I actually got in a fight with another cow, and and she's like, and so we're
here, and I'm focused on the bull here. Knock it off.
Stop fighting with the cow. No, I can interact with her like that.
Summer, September is a beautiful time to hunt. Obviously, October, November, it gets colder. So a lot of ladies starting out bow hunting takes some time and some effort, and that's worth it every second of the day. But don't think about muzzle loading. It's fun. So
one of the things too, when you guys go out there and look at those recap reports and how many points were drawn out here and there, sometimes like archery's like 2 points, but muzzleloading's 1. Like you just look at each season because sometimes it's easier to draw it if you switch methods.
You could see this if this wasn't up here, but this shows you a rifle. So this is rifle. That bull this is not my bull. That bull that I told you that we stayed 8 hours on for our friend, that's him.
That's a 5x5. He was the biggest 5x5.
He's a
nice.
cow calls are a must. We do our cow calling even in rifle season. There's not even if somebody else is scared of the herd, chances are if you have a call and you can stop them and you still can get a shot. So always have a call.
So this cow that I shot here, it was in January and they were on another landowner. I set up the decoy on a ridge, backed off and did a lost calf. And then pretty soon the whole herd had jumped over and came over to our side. So it does work. And again, decoys, I'm a little nervous with rifle, but it wasn't private land. It was a January hunt. So I felt a little safer.
We kind of talked about this early morning rise and position yourself in an area where you can blast the area, move to intercept moving elk. They're very habitual. This is late season, just later this season, focus on winter concentration areas, which we talked about that with those maps. It's important to blend with the terrain. We do wear camo. The reason we wear camo is we're trying to blend in. when you're wearing solid colors, they know I walked by that place every day of my life and never saw that blob. They know something's different. We paint our faces. Sometimes we have masks, but you want to, when you paint your face, it's not just to put makeup on. You're trying to do your cheekbones and your chin, things that stand out. We were turkey hunting in Oklahoma, and we swore that the turkeys could see the white of our eyes and they were running. It's crazy. I just threw these in here because we get asked a lot for these. What do you guys carry in your pack? And I'm not going to go through this, but it's hard to see, but this is all, I took everything out of my pack of what I carry in my everyday pack hunting, from hand warmers to a tag, to wipes, to a first aid kit, to a knife. I can't even, a headlamp is important because I know I'm going to stay till dark, and I don't have one headlamp, I have 2 headlamps, because if one dies, I want to have backup. This is face paint.
Don't forget your tag.
I said tag.
I know.
So then I came a little smoke to check wind. They have these little things, and you don't have to have that in the flower, but I squeeze it in smoke. It's very little. A little guy like this, you squeeze it, and you're confused which way the wind's blowing because it's light. You squeeze it and it'll blow it, so you know. Because everything you do before you go after that elk is you have to know the way the winds are. So again, we've been asked for this numerous times, what we carry in our pack, so I threw these in. These next screens, and you can't see it up here, and I wish you could. Can you move that to down there? Okay, well, they've done some of the things we're done with our presentation. These are some of the things that HuntNDivas do. This is an antelope hunt that we took the ladies out on. This is our Julie Woods. These are, it says our HuntNDiva. If you could read it, it says HuntNDiva artists up here. I don't know what's going on there. So this is a lady that came on our wilderness trip, and it's all she did was paint the whole time she was there. So Julie's here. Julie doesn't paint human beings, she paints animals, and she paints your dog. So if you're looking for an awesome artist, we can highly recommend her. We met this lady last year shooting bows, so we do bow shooting. We take HuntNDivas out and stuff, but this lady was awesome. She was shot 10 years ago at her school in Aurora, and now she's probably going to be an Olympian shooter. So go ahead, Donnell.
That was just this year. We had a late season. I tried to cut my hand off with my, they take the emergency room. No, we shot 4 elk in 24 hours. That was a crazy.
That was in January 4 months ago.
AARP followed us. I know that we're getting older, and they asked if they could feature us. They sent me out to talk to this.
So there was 4.
I wasn't sure how I felt about it.
This is Melissa, one of our new HuntNDivas, a brand new hunter. That's why she went on the hunt. There's another lady that's on the hunt with us. She did not make that day because she got from Washington and she got altitude sickness, and she threw up all day. So she shot her elk the next day, but that's why she's not in that picture.
Yeah, so Melissa and I shot elk that night, and then the next day Amy and Lisa shot theirs.
This is a fishing. This is a fishing clinic that we do down south. That I'm just giving you ideas what some of the HuntNDivas do. This is a goose hunt we took the ladies out on, and these are usually not always new people, but just want to go get out. This is an ice fishing clinic we did down south this year. These are some of the new things we're doing. Pheasant hunt out on the Eastern Plains. We have some HuntNDivas that are recording artists. Angela Zekin is one of our, she's been with us a long time. This is my cousin Miller Campbell. You can get all these guys, you've probably heard of them, and you can get them on iTunes and all that. But they've been out on wilderness trips and hunts with us. This is some of the shows that we do, the ISC show and different things, and you guys might see.
Our hashtag is Find Your Wild.
This is a turkey clinic we do down south in the spring. This was when a couple years ago. Yeah, there's Barbie. These are all brand new turkey hunters that have never hunted turkeys. Penny was 71 years old and she got her first turkey. So this is 1 year of us mentoring turkey, brand new ladies.
COVID kept on the down low.
So, yeah.
We put 2 tents side by side. That was me. I'm right, okay.
So this lady here, Danny, she's the reason. Not all these ladies are the same, but this lady right here, I wish I had that picture. She got this turkey. She ran up to this tom and she grabbed it and she kissed it. It is why I do what I do. It was precious. The wilderness trip, which many of you guys are either gone on or going on or planning to go on it. This is up in the Flat Top Wilderness.
It's pretty ugly, it's like Kansas.
Yeah, so we do that. We're taking our 17th trip up there in 7 years this year on the end of the month. We sell out in about a week, so we'll have to talk to us about that because we don't advertise for it. And then and you can't see this, but it says, and this is true. We really went to the Grand Canyon, and her daughter took this picture of Donnell and I down the ways. Planning pays off. This is where we have some questions if you want. Have fun and shoot straight. If you're looking to how to get a hold of us, most of y'all know HuntNDivas10@gmail.com. And that's our presentation. So I really and then everything that we own, because the only reason we have it here is because we get asked all the time. If you're interested in any HuntNDivas swag, it's all back there and it's everything I have that Donnell and I have. So meaning we brought it here tonight, so it's easy because I live here. Yeah, if you have any questions, this is the time to ask us. I know it was a lot, but hopefully you learned a little bit about the regulations. If you've never turkey hunted, you probably want to get a hold of us. We will have some big game hunts. We haven't figured those out yet, so we can probably help you out with a few of these things. So,
and I got a test too. I was with Donnell when I got my first turkey.
Yep.
And it was